This is LXBN TV, and I'm Colin O'Keefe. As we continue our ongoing coverage of Avvocating 2012, I'm here with Carolyn Elefant. She is a blogger at myshingle.com, excellent publication. She is also a practicing lawyer and author of the book Solo by Choice. Carolyn, starting off, you gave a great session, especially geared towards solo and small firms, and it's modern technology has really enabled solos and small firms to compete with some of the big guns. But what can lawyers do to do a better job of getting discovered online and compete with some of the bigger firms?
Thanks. I think that first of all, the most important thing they can do is to recognize that there is a difference between search and discovery. As I mentioned in my talk, the kind of things that we find online are like pennies under sofas, things like that. I mean, the things that we discover are great inventions or new countries, and so I think that if you focus on discovery, you'll focus on having people, find you who will value your services more. In terms of practical tips for being discovered online, I think it really all goes back to content, distributing content that is useful to people and valuable, and putting it out in many different formats. And the example that I gave is I have an ebook that educates people on the process of siting pipelines, and so landowners are able to learn about that and defend their rights in these proceedings. And then when you distribute in different content, if it's valuable, other people will circulate it for you, and so you get the power of people passing the information along. And that's the thing about discovery too. When you discover a great find, you want everyone to know about it. The secret restaurant, the great lawyer, and so that's really why discovery is so valuable to solos, because you've got other people doing the work for you and passing the information on, so it takes the load off the individual practitioner.
Absolutely. And then niche marketing has always been huge for lawyers, not just niche marketing, of course, but niche practices. You changed that up just a little bit, even though you were one of the first people to be on niche practices, but you talked about the app-ification of the law practice and the app-ification of the marketing that goes along with that. What did you mean by that?
Well, I changed it up a little bit because, like I said, so many people are talking about niche practice that I was starting to get a little tired of it. And so I started thinking about what apps do. An app is a platform that does something, or it's a tool that you use on your phone. It's very mobile, it's very discreet, and it does one thing really well. And customers are starting to get that idea. We're going from kind of the big box store, the big box law firm, to a conglomeration or aggregation of different lawyers or different sites that do one thing well. So I think that when you think of law practice in terms of an app, consumers get that. They don't have a problem with going to one lawyer who does something really well because they're getting more used to that app concept. The other reason why an app is very relevant is apps are so easy to put together in the technical world. It's really easy to create an app. It's easy to pass it around. It's easy for it to go viral. And so if you are a lawyer with a big general practice, if you do, if you're doing a lot of things, personal injury, family law, all of those things at the same time, I mean, that's not such a good thing anyway. But thinking of it as an app lets you break off a little piece of it, and it makes it much more manageable. And as with an app for technology, starting up an app, a special piece of your practice, there's not a lot of startup costs involved. You already have the knowledge. It's really just a matter of repackaging it in a discreet way that makes it very findable for people who are looking for that particular area.
And lastly, you talked about obviously getting discovered is a huge part of it, but in today's world, you want to go a little bit beyond with that. You want to connect with the people that are discovering you. How can solos and small firms do a better job of doing that in terms of sparking relationships and that type of thing?
Well, again, I think the first thing, if you're talking about the web, the most important thing is to realize that it's not about eyeballs anymore. It's not about traffic or brute force. I think a lot of solo and small firm practitioners, a lot of lawyers in general, don't get that. They think that the more SEO juice they have, the more they're on the front page of Google, that's going to get them the clients. And in some cases, while it won't necessarily hurt, it may not get you the clients that you want. What you should be looking at instead is to look at the internet as a way to identify people who you might want to build a connection with and use it as a point to jumpstart that relationship. So for example, if you're on Twitter and you learn that somebody likes dogs or they like gardening, you can reach out to them on that personal level, and then the conversation about your work will follow. And then if they have a case that's in your state, they might remember, oh, there's that dog lover in Washington State who handles bankruptcy cases. I'll send this case their way. So that's one thing to do, is just to focus more on making the connections. And the connections can also be with clients as well. I mean, clients like to know what your personal story is. I mean, we heard Kelly, or Tax Girl, talk about how she talks about her kids, because when people come to her, they've got these problems that they're really very concerned about and embarrassed about, and knowing that she's a mom, and she's responsible and can be discreet about things is sort of like another selling point when they know that little piece of her personal life. So that's another way, putting out some additional information about yourself. Clients will they kind of feel that they might have more of a relationship with you, and so you also attract the people who you work very well with. But the most important thing is, like I said, don't think of it as eyeballs, think of the computer as a tool to make the connections. That's really what gets people excited, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the number is always out there. You keeping your current clients and enhancing the relationships there, it's easier to do and it's less costly than going out and having to get new clients. I mean, just putting your personal information out there. Michelle Davis yesterday talked about her husband just getting on Facebook and adding alumni made them $100,000.
Yeah.
So it's really great what we have there. Well, once again, that was Carolyn Elefant of My Shingle, and of course, author of Solo by Choice and a practicing lawyer as well. Once again, for more video interviews with Avvocating sponsors, attendees, and exhibitors, be sure to check us out at lxbn.lexblog.com. Thanks, Carolyn.
Thank you, Colin.